Okay, so today I will be reading Clinical Manifestation and Assessment of Respiratory Disease, 8th edition, chapter 28, Acute Respiratory Distress Syndrome. Pardon me with the mess, I am a student. Anatomic alteration of lungs. The lungs of patients affected by acute respiratory distress syndrome ARDS undergo similar anatomic changes regardless of the cause of the disease. In response to injury, the pulmonary capillaries become engorged and permeability of the alveolar capillary membrane increases. Interstitial and intraalveolar edema and hemorrhage ensue as well as scattered areas of hemorrhagic alveolar consolidation. These processes result in a decrease in alveolar surfactant and in alveolar collapse or atelectasis. Okay. As the disease progresses, the intraalveolar wall becomes lined with a thick, rippled hairline membrane, similar to the hairline membrane seen in newborn with respiratory distress syndrome, hairline membrane disease. See chapter 37 for respiratory distress syndrome. The membrane contains fibrin and cellular debris. In severe cases, hyperplasia and swelling of type 2 cells occur. Fibrin and exudate develop and lead to intraalveolar fibrosis. In gross appearance, the lungs of the patient with ARDS are heavy and red, beefy, or liver like. The anatomic alteration that develop in ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, create a restrictive lung disorder. The major pathologic or structural changes associated with ARDS are as follows: interstitial and intraalveolar edema and hemorrhage, alveolar consolidation, intraalveolar hairline membrane formation, pulmonary surfactant deficiency or qualitative abnormality, atelectasis. Page 416. Historically, ARDS was first referred to as the shock lung syndrome. When the disease was first identified in combat casualties during World War II, since that time, the disease has appeared in the medical literature under many different names, all based on the conditions believed to be responsible for the disease. In 1967, the disease was first described as a specific entity, and the term acute respiratory distress syndrome was suggested. This term is predominantly used today. Box 28.1 provides some of the other names that have appeared in the medical journal to identify ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. Box 28.1 previous names of acute respiratory distress syndrome: adult hairline membrane disease, adult respiratory distress syndrome, capillary leak syndrome, congestion atelectasis, Da Nang lung because of the high incidence of ARDS in the Vietnam War, hemorrhagic pulmonary edema, non cardiac pulmonary edema, oxygen pneumonitis, oxygen toxicity, post non traumatic pulmonary insufficiency, post perfusion lung, post pump lung, post traumatic pulmonary insufficiency, shock lung syndrome, stiff lung syndrome, wet lung, white lung syndrome. Figure 28.1 cross sectional view of alveoli in acute respiratory distress syndrome. AC alveolar consolidation, AT atelectasis, HM hairline membrane, M macrophage. Etiology and epidemiology. ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, accounts for 10% to 15% of all intensive care unit admissions and about 25% of patients on mechanical ventilation. A multitude of causative factors may produce ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. Although more than 60 possible pulmonary insults have been identified to cause ARDS, only a few common causes account for the most cases of ARDS. Box 28.2 provides some of the better known causes. The clinical manifestation associated with ARDS usually appear within 6 to 72 hours of an inciting event and worsen rapidly. The patient typically presents with dyspnea, cyanosis, bilateral crackle, tachypnea, tachycardia, diaphoresis, and use of accessory muscle of inspiration. The patient typically presents with dyspnea, cyanosis, bilateral crackles, tachypnea, tachycardia, diaphoresis, and use of accessory muscles of inspiration. Systemic hypotension is frequently an early event, and dyspnea is often out of proportion to the extent of the radiologic abnormalities. Systemic hypotension is frequently an early event, and the dyspnea is often out of proportion to the extent of radiologic abnormalities. A cough and chest pain also may be present. The general clinical course is characterized by several days of hypoxemia that requires moderate to high concentration of inspired oxygen. The bilateral alveolar infiltrates and diffuse crackles worsens during this period, and the patient's overall health status is often fragile as a result of severe hypoxemia. Between 12% and 35% of patients die within the first 72 hours. Most patients who survive this initial clinical course begin to show oxygenation, improvements, and decreased alveolar infiltrates over the next several days. Diagnostic criteria for acute respiratory distress syndrome. As shown in box 28.3, the Berlin definition of ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, is used as a diagnostic criteria for ARDS. Note that the Berlin definition of ARDS requires that all the elements listed in the box 28.3 must be present to diagnose ARDS. For the most part, ARDS is a diagnosis of exclusion, that is, excluding other possible causes of acute hypoxemic respiratory failure with bilateral alveolar infiltrates. Cardiogenic pulmonary edema is the primary alternative that needs to be ruled out. Cardiogenic pulmonary edema is the primary alternative that needs to be ruled out. Other possible alternative causes of acute hypoxemic respiratory failure with bilateral alveolar infiltrates include diffuse alveolar hemorrhage, idiopathic acute exacerbation of pre-existing interstitial lung disease, acute eosinophilic pneumonia, cryptogenic organizing pneumonia, acute interstitial pneumonia, and rapidly disseminating metastatic malignancy. Other possible alternative causes of acute hypoxemic respiratory failure with bilateral alveolar infiltrates include diffuse alveolar hemorrhage, idiopathic acute exacerbation of pre-existing interstitial lung disease, acute eosinophilic pneumonia, cryptogenic organizing pneumonia, acute interstitial pneumonia, and rapidly disseminating metastatic malignancy. Box 28.3 cause of acute respiratory distress syndrome. Most common sepsis, the most common cause of ARDS. It should be the first cause considered whenever ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, develops in an adult patient. The risk factors are especially high in patients with sepsis who also have a history of alcoholism, aspiration, for example, a gastric contents, ARDS occurs in about one third of patients who have a recognized episode of aspiration of gastric content. Pneumonia. Community acquired pneumonia is one of the most common causes of ARDS that develops outside of the hospital. Common pathogens include Streptococcus pneumoniae, Legionella pneumophila, Pneumocystic jirovecii, formerly called Pneumocystic carinii, Staphylococcus aureus, enteric gram-negative organisms, and a variety of respiratory viruses. Severe trauma, ARDS, is a common complication of severe trauma. Such trauma often include the following: bilateral lung contusion caused by blunt trauma, for example, steering wheel smashed into the chest during a car accident; fat embolism from a long bone fracture, for example, ARDS symptoms typically appear 12 to 48 hours after the trauma; sepsis, perhaps the most common Sepsis, perhaps the most common cause of ARDS that develops several days after the severe trauma. Massive traumatic tissue injury predisposes the patient to ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. Massive blood transfusion. In stored blood, the quantity of aggregated white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets, and fibrin increases. These blood components may in turn occlude or damage small blood vessels. Lung and hematopoietic stem cell transplantation. Patients are at risk for ARDS resulting from a variety of infectious and non infectious causes. Drug abuse, for example, heroin, barbiturates, morphine, methadone. Other causes are central nervous system, CNS disease, particularly when complicated by increased intracranial pressure. Cardiopulmonary bypass, especially when the bypass is prolonged. Disseminated intravascular coagulation seen in a patient with shock. It is a condition of paradoxical stimulus clotting and bleeding that produces microthrombi in the lungs. Disseminated intravascular coagulation seen in a patient with shock in a condition of paradoximal stimulus clotting and bleeding that produces microthrombi in the lungs. Inhalation of toxins and irritants. For example, chlorine gas, nitrogen dioxide, smoke, ozone, oxygen may also be included in this category of irritants. Immunologic reaction, for example, allergic alveolar reaction to inhaled material or Goodpasture syndrome. Oxygen toxicity, for example, prolonged exposure to FiO2 greater than 0.60. Box 28.3 Berlin definition of acute respiratory distress syndrome diagnostic criteria. Respiratory symptoms associated with ARDS have manifested within 1 week. Respiratory symptoms associated with ARDS have manifested within 1 week of a known clinical event or new or worsening symptoms over the past 7 days. Bilateral opacity similar to pulmonary edema appear on the chest radiograph or computed tomography scan. The opacities cannot be fully explained by the pleural effusion, lobar or lung collapse, or pulmonary nodules. The patient's respiratory failure cannot be fully explained by the heart failure or fluid overload. An objective assessment to rule out hydrostatic pulmonary edema is required if risk factors of ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, are not present. A moderate to severe impairment of oxygen must be present, as defined by the ratio of the arterial oxygen. A moderate to severe impairment of oxygenation must be present as defined by the ratio of arterial oxygen tension to fraction of inspired oxygen ratio, PaO2 over FiO2 ratio. The severity of the hypoxemia defines the severity of the ARDS. Mild ARDS, the PaO2 over FiO2 is greater than 200 but less than or equal to 300 on ventilator settings that include positive end expiratory pressure PEEP or continuous positive airway pressure CPAP, which is greater or equal to 5 centimeter H2O. Moderate ARDS, the PaO2 FiO2 is greater than 100 but less than equal to 200 on ventilator settings that include PEEP greater than or equal to 5 centimeter H2O. Severe ARDS, the PaO2 over FiO2 is less than or equal to 100 on ventilatory settings. Severe ARDS, the PaO2 over FiO2 is less than equal to 100 on ventilator settings that include PEEP, which is greater than or equal to 5 centimeter H2O. Okay. Overview of the cardiopulmonary clinical manifestation associated with acute respiratory distress syndrome. The following clinical manifestation results from the pathologic mechanism caused or activated by atelectasis. See figure 10.7. Alveolar consolidation. See figure 10.8. And increased alveolar capillary membrane thickness. See figure 10.9. The major anatomic alteration of the lungs associated with ARDS. See figure 28.1. Clinical data obtained at the patient's bedside, the physical examinations, vital signs, increased respiratory rate tachypnea, severe pathologic mechanism operating simultaneously may lead to an increased ventilatory rate. Stimulation of peripheral chemotherapy, hypoxemia, relationship of decreased lung compliance to increased ventilatory rate. Stimulation of J receptors, anxiety, increased heart rate, pulse and blood pressure, substernal and intercostal retractions, cyanosis, chest assessment findings, dull percussion note, bronchial breath sounds, crackles. Clinical data obtained from the laboratory test and special procedures. Radiologic finding, chest radiograph. Increased opacity diffuses throughout the lung. Because of the bilateral alveolar infiltrates that develop in ARDS, an increased radiodensity is seen on the chest radiograph. The increased lung density resists X-ray penetration and is revealed on the radiograph as increased opacity. Therefore, the more severe the ARDS, the denser the lung becomes and the wider the radiograph. Ultimately, the lungs may have a ground glass appearance. This is in contrast to cardiogenic pulmonary edema, where the infiltrates appear more central. Other clinical manifestation associated with acute respiratory distress syndrome complications. Patients with ARDS are at high risk of complications. Some of the complications are related to the patient who require mechanical ventilation. For example, pulmonary barotrauma, and hospital acquired pneumonia, whereas others are associated with the patient's underlying critical illness and or being under intensive care. For example, delirium, deep vein thrombosis, gastrointestinal bleeding caused by stress ulceration, and catheter related infections. Common complications include the following: barotrauma. The patient with ARDS is often susceptible to pulmonary barotrauma, resulting from the physical tension of high positive pressure mechanical ventilation, plateau airway pressure greater than 30 centimeter H2O, on acutely damaged alveoli. It is most likely that the areas of the lungs affected by the barotrauma are in fact the healthy alveoli, whereas interspread with the pathologically altered alveoli. This is because of the relatively high pressure required to manage patients with ARDS, not only help recruit collapsed alveoli but also may work to over distend the healthier alveoli, thus resulting in the overexpansion of the alveoli. Tearing, popping, and collapse called volutrauma and or barotrauma. The complications is less common now that the low tidal volume ventilation and high respiratory rate strategy for providing ventilatory support for ARDS have become widespread. See ventilatory initiation and management protocol 11.1 and ventilatory weaning protocol 11.2. This ventilatory strategy works to reduce the overall plateau airway pressure less than 30 centimeter water. Delirium, ARDS, and other forms of acute ventilatory failures are often complicated by delirium. Deep sedation and neuromuscular blocking agents are used to treat agitated delirium and self extubation, but their use is discouraged in the current literature. Deep vein thrombosis, prolonged bed rest and or immobilization are commonly associated with DVI, deep vein thrombosis. Gastrointestinal bleeding attributable to stress ulceration. The incidence of overt gastrointestinal bleeding caused by the stress ulceration ranges from 1.5% to 8.5% among all patients in the intensive care unit. Pneumonia. Streptococcus pneumoniae is commonly associated with ARDS. Antibiotic treatment is usually a combination of ceftriaxone, levofloxacin, and azithromycin. Le, uh, Ceftriaxone, levofloxacin, and azithromycin. General management of acute respiratory distress syndrome. Corticosteroids. Intravenous corticosteroids significantly reduces the rate of treatment failure both early first 72 hours and late 72 to 122 hours based on radiographic progression of late septic shock. Respiratory care protocol treatments. Respiratory care treatment protocols. Oxygen therapy protocol. Oxygen therapy is used to treat hypoxemia, decreases the work of breathing, and decreases myocardial work. Because of the hypoxemia associated with ARDS, supplemental oxygen is often required. The hypoxemia that develops in ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, is most commonly caused by widespread alveolar consolidation, atelectasis, and increased alveolar capillary thickening. Hypoxemia caused by capillary shunting is often refractory to oxygen therapy. Lung expansion therapy protocol. Lung expansion measures, for example, positive end expiratory pressure PEEP or continuous positive airway pressure CPAP, are key to attempt to offset the alveolar consolidation and atelectasis associated with ARDS. See Lung Expansion Protocol 10.3. Mechanical ventilation protocol. Mechanical ventilation is usually needed to provide and support alveolar gas exchange and eventually return the patient to spontaneous breathing. Continuous mechanical ventilation is justified when the acute ventilatory failure is thought to be reversible. Ventilation strategies. For most patients in acute respiratory failure caused by ARDS, it is recommended that the patient be immediately in, placed on invasive mechanical ventilation rather than doing an initial trial of non invasive positive pressure ventilation. In addition, a full support mode of mechanical ventilation is recommended. Rather than a partially supported mode of ventilation, either volume limited or pressure limited modes of ventilation are acceptable. According to the National Institute of Health (NIH), National Heart, Lung and Blood Institute (NHLBI), and Acute Respiratory Distress Syndrome (ARDS) Network (ARDSNet), the recommended ventilatory strategies of ARDS is low tidal volume ventilation and high respiratory rate. The initial tidal volume is usually set at 8 ml per kg, predicted body weight (ppm), with the ability to drop down at 1 ml kg intervals to 6 ml kg (pbw), predicted body weight, if needed to maintain a low plateau pressure (pplat). Ideally, the pplat low plateau pressure should be maintained between 25 and 30 centimeter water H2O. The initial ventilatory rate is set to approximately the patient's baseline minute ventilation, not greater than 35 breaths per minute. If the pplat low plateau pressure drops below 25 centimeter H2O, the most common protocol is to increase the tidal volume VT. An overview of the recommended mechanical ARDS net ventilation protocol is provided in Protocol 28.1. Finally, the patient's PaCO2 is often allowed to increase permissive hypercapnia as a trade off to protect the lungs from high airway pressures. In most cases, an increased ventilatory rate adequately offsets the decreased tidal volume used in the management of ARDS. The PaCO2, however, should not be permitted to increase to the point of severe acidosis. To summarize, the therapeutic goal of mechanical ventilation of ARDS patient is to maintain 1. Low tidal volume between 6 to 8 ml per kg, high respiratory rate but not greater than 35 breaths per minute, an alveolar plateau pressure between 25 and 30 centimeter water, an oxygenation level between PaO2 55 and 80 millimeter mercury, or an SpO2 between 88% and 95%, and the pH between 7.30 and 7.45. Other treatment methods: inhale nitric oxide. In INO, inhaled nitric oxide may be used as a bridge to other interventions in case of profound hypoxemia. Prolonged use is not recommended. Extracorporeal membrane oxygenation ECMO in severe cases and where skilled ECMO services are available. ECMO use may be considered. The most appropriate time to apply it in life support is not clear, and its use involves considerable patient risk. Prone ventilation. Prone ventilation is ventilation that is delivered with the patient lying in the prone position. Prone ventilation may be used for treatment ARDS mostly as a strategy to improve oxygenation when the more traditional mode of ventilation has failed. ARDS NET Mechanical Ventilation Protocol Summary. Criteria for mechanical ventilation: acute onset of PaO2 over FiO2 less than 300, bilateral infiltrates consistent with pulmonary edema, no clinical evidence of left arterial hypertension. Ventilation setup and adjustments. Calculate predicted body weight PBW. Male is equal to 50 plus 2.3. Height in inches minus 60. Female 45.5 plus 2.3. Height in inches minus 60. Select any ventilatory mode. Set ventilatory setting to achieve initial VT 8 ml per kg PBW predicted body weight. Reduce VT tidal volume by 1 ml per kg at intervals less than 2 hours until VT tidal volume is equal to 6 ml per kg predicted body weight PBW. Set initial RR respiratory rate to approximately patient's baseline minute ventilation, not greater than 35 beats per minute. Adjust tidal volume and respiratory rate to achieve pH and plateau pressure goals as shown below. Plateau pressure goals is less than 30 centimeter water. Check the low plateau pressure 0.5 second inspiratory pulse at least Q4 hour every 4 hour and each change in PEEP or tidal volume. Check low plateau pressure greater than 30 centimeter H2O. Decrease the tidal volume by 1 ml per kg. Steps minimum is equal to 4 ml per kg. If low plateau pressure is less than 25 centimeter H2O and VT tidal volume is less than 6 ml per kg, increase tidal volume by 1 ml per kg until the low plateau pressure is greater than 25 centimeter H2O or tidal volume is equal to 6 ml per kg. If low plateau pressure is less than 30 and the breath stacking of asynchronous occurs, may increase tidal volume in 1 ml per kg increment to 7 to 8 ml per kg if low plateau pressure remains less than 30 centimeter per water. Oxygenation goals: PaO2 between 55 and 80 millimeter mercury or SpO2 of 88% to 95%. Use a minimum PEEP of 5 centimeter water. Consider use of incremental FiO2 PEEP combinations such as shown below, not required to achieve goal. Low PEEP with higher FiO2s. FiO2 0.3 PEEP 5. FiO2 0.4 PEEP 5. FiO2 0.4 PEEP 8. So forth, so on. Okay. pH goals 7.30 to 7.45. Acidosis management: pH less than 7.30. If pH 7.15 between 7.15 to 7.30, increase the respiratory rate until the pH is greater than 7.30 or PaCO2 is less than 25 millimeter per mercury. Maximum set respiratory rate to 35. If pH is less than 7.15, increase the respiratory rate to 35. If the pH remains less than 7.15, tidal volume may be increased in 1 ml per kg steps until the pH is greater than 7.15. Low plateau pressure target of 30 centimeter H2O may be exceeded. May give NaHCO3. Alkalosis management pH greater than 7.45. Decrease respiratory rate if possible. Inspiratory expiratory ratio goals. Recommended that duration of inspiratory be less than the duration than expiration. Case study: acute respiratory distress syndrome. Admitting history and physical examination. This comatose 47-year-old woman was admitted to the emergency department of a small community hospital. Her husband found her laying Her husband found her laying in bed with an empty bottle of sleeping pills and a goodbye note on the bedside table. She said she had a long history of depression. In the emergency department, she was found to be in moderately deep coma, responding to deep, painful stimulation but otherwise non responsive. She was of average size and, according to her husband, had previously been in good physical health. She did not smoke or drink and was taking no other medications. Her blood pressure and the pulse were within normal limits, but her respiration were shallow and noisy. The emergency department physician attempts to lavage her stomach. During the introduction of the nasogastric tube, the patient vomited and aspirated liquid gastric content. At this time, it was decided to transfer her by ambulance to a tertiary care medical center about 30 miles away. The pH of the gastric content was not determined. On arrival at the medical center, the patient was comatose but responsive to mild painful stimulation. Her weight was 50 kg and her rectal temperature was 101.5 Fahrenheit, 38.6 degrees Celsius. Her blood pressure was 100 over 60 millimeter per mercury. Heart rate was 114 beats per minute. Respiration 10 breaths per minute and shallow. On auscultation, there was fine crackles over the left lung and coarse crackle over the right side. A chest radiograph shows bilateral moderate fluffy infiltrate, mostly on the right side. Blood gases on a non-breather oxygen mask was pH 7.29, PaCO2 56 millimeter mercury, bicarbonate 26 milli equivalent per liter, PaO2 52 millimeter mercury, and SaO2 80%. At this time, the respiratory therapist record the following soap note. Respiratory assessment and plan. Subjective NA. Objective: patient is comatose. Blood pressure is 100 over 60. Heart rate is 114. Respiratory rate is 28. Temperature 101.5 degree Fahrenheit and 38.6 degrees Celsius. Auscultation: fine crackle over the left lung and coarse crackle over the right side. CXR, chest X-ray. Bilateral infiltrates, worse on the right side. Arterial Arterial blood gases values ABG on non-breather oxygen mask were pH 7.29, PaCO2 56, HCO3 bicarbonate 26, PaO2 52, and SaO2 80%. Sedative assessment, sedative drug overdose with coma history. Aspiration pneumonitis without previous history of pulmonary disease. Aspiration observed. Possible early stage of ARDS, history and X-ray. Acute ventilatory failure with moderate hypoxemia, ABGs. P plan contact physician start regarding acute ventilatory failure. Manually ventilate and oxygenate patient until the physician's orders are completed. Repeat ABG 1 hour after intubation and PRN. Over the next 30 minutes, the patient was transferred to the intensive care unit, intubated and mechanically ventilated for possible early stage of mild ARDS. The initial ventilatory settings were tidal volume 400 ml, that is 8 ml times 50 kg, rate 15 breaths per minute, FiO2 of 0.50, and 10 centimeter watt H2O of PEEP. The low plateau pressure was 26 centimeter H2O. An arterial line was placed in her left radial artery and an intravenous infusion was started with a lactated Ringer solution. Over the next 15 hours, the patient's oxygenation status continued to deteriorate in spite of the progressive increase in delivered FiO2. Positive expiratory PEEP and pressure control mechanical ventilation. When the arterial oxygen tension did not improve appreciably on an FiO2 of 1.0 100% and PEEP of 20 centimeter H2O, a Swan gas catheter was placed in the pulmonary artery. In view of the PEEP, the pressure reading were difficult to interpret. A mean pulmonary artery pressure of 25 mm mercury, however, did suggest increased pulmonary vascular resistance. A chest radiograph revealed ARDS with bilateral diffuse infiltrates and atelectasis. The heart was not enlarged. At this time, the physicians charted severe ARDS in the patient's progress note. The respiratory therapist decreased the tidal volume on the ventilator at 300 ml, 6 ml times 50 kg, and increased the rate to 20 breaths per minute. The FiO2 remained at 100%, 1.0, and PEEP was increased to 22 centimeter H2O. 20 minutes later, patient's ABG were pH 7.31, PaCO2 49 millimeter mercury, HCO3 24 MEq per liter, PaO2 is 38 millimeter per mercury, and SaO2 65%. Her PaO2 over FiO2 ratio was 38 divided by 1.0 is 338. She had coarse crackle and bronchial breath sounds throughout all lung field. Moderate to large amount of purulent sputum was frequently suctioned from the endotracheal tube. Her blood pressure was 90 over 60 and her heart rate was 130 beats per minute. Her temperature was 100.2 degrees Fahrenheit or 37.9 degrees Celsius. At this time, the respiratory therapist charted the following SOAP note: respiratory assessment and plan. Subjective, no, patient comatose. Objective, patient remains comatose. Blood pressure 90 over 60, heart rate 130, temperature 100.2 point Fahrenheit, 37.9 degrees Celsius, bilateral coarse crackle, and bronchial breath sounds. ABG on decreased tidal volume of 300 ml, rate 20 FiO2, 1.0 and plus 22 p. pH 7.31, PaCO2 49, HCO3 24, PaO2 is 38, and SaO2 is 65%. PaO2 FiO2 ratio is 38. Chest X-ray, ARDS with bilateral diffuse infiltrate and atelectasis. Worse on the right side, purulent sputum. PA pressure mean 27 millimeter per mercury. Severe ARDS, symptoms associated with ARDS, bilateral infiltrates on chest X-ray, PaO2 over FiO2 ratio is 38 on ventilator settings that include PEEP greater than 20 centimeter H2O. Persistent coma, physical examination. Aspiration pneumonitis, progression to ARDS with bilateral infiltrates and atelectasis. Chest X-ray, bronchial breath sounds. Increasing airway secretion with infection, fever, coarse crackle, and pulmonary purulent sputum. Acute ventilatory failure on present ventilatory setting but acceptable hypercapnia in this case. Severe hypoxemia, ABGs extremely low, PABGs, extremely low PaO2 over FiO2 ratio of 38. Plan. Call physician to discuss worsening PaO2 and to confirm an acceptable hypercapnia levels and PEEP under upper limit. Airway clearance therapy protocol, suction PRN, adjust mechanical ventilation protocol, titrate tidal volume and rate to raise PaCO2 to permissive hypercapnia range. Repeat gram stain and culture sputum. Closely monitor and re-evaluate. After 3 hours, it was apparent that current management would not be successful. The physician decided to alert the extracorporeal membrane oxygenation ECMO team and place the patient on extracorporeal membrane oxygenation. This was done and the patient was maintained on ECMO for 13 hours. When she developed ventilatory tachycardia followed by ventilatory fibrillation. Attempts to re-establish normal cardiac function were not successful, and the patient was pronounced dead 45 minutes later. Discussion. This was possibly a preventable death. Gastric lavage should never be performed on an unconscious patient unless the airway is first protected with a cuffed endotracheal tube. This is one of the very few categoric imperative in pulmonary medicine. The following three causative factors known to produce ARDS may have been operative in this patient: drug overdose, aspiration of gastric contents, and breathing an excessive FiO2 for long period. As time progressed, the patient's lung became stiffer and physiologically non-functional as a result of the anatomic alteration associated with ARDS. The PaO2 over FiO2 ratio helped detect this and raise the point that an initial on very early ABG at a known FiO2 should be established in patients who are acutely ill. As documented in the first assessment, her crackles refractory hypoxemia, and radiograph findings all reflected the pathophysiologic changes seen in patients with atelectasis and or increased alveolar capillary membrane thickening. Aggressive lung expansion therapy in the form of PEEP was used with mechanical ventilation from the start. Unfortunately, severe ARDS was confirmed 15 hours later. That is, when the respiratory symptoms associated with ARDS were present in less than 1 week. Bilateral infiltrates were seen on the chest radiograph, and the PaO2 FiO2 ratio was only 38 on ventilatory settings that include PEEP greater than 20 centimeter water. The Berlin definition of acute respiratory distress syndrome, C box 28.3. The respiratory therapist immediate reduction in the tidal volume of the patient to 300 ml, increase in respiratory rate of 20 breaths per minute, and permissive hypercapnia were all clearly indicated and appropriate. Unfortunately, these therapeutic techniques and the use of ECMO to manage the condition were not enough in the final analysis. Self-assessment questions. Self-assessment questions. In response to injury, the lungs of patients with ARDS undergo which of the following changes? D. 1, 3, and 4. Atelectasis, interstitial and intraalveolar edema, hemorrhagic alveolar consolidation. Number 2. Which of the following are recommended ventilation strategies for most patients with ARDS? B. 3 and 4 only. High respiratory rate and low tidal